Okay, so it's probably time that we make a start menu where players can select what control scheme they want to use. So, save Pong 12. This is where we left off. And the reason I'm hovering over here by wait start is because at the moment we only have two statuses. Either we're waiting for start or we're not waiting for start. It's Boolean, it's binary. It can only be one or the other. But now we're going to have three states. So a Boolean isn't going to cover it anymore. Okay. We're building a state machine. I'll see if I can find some documentation on the coding pattern for a state machine and put in a card for it, or link will be in the description. I get to say that now. The TIC-80 reference stuff has been in the description the whole time, by the way. If you're ever confused or you want to get my code and work from there, you're welcome to go have a look. But back to the point. We're going to create an enum for states. So it's a global that is going to include a list, and this list is going to be each possible state associated with a number. So traditionally, your gameplay loop is state 0. Then wait start is going to be 1, and then start menu, which we'll get to in a minute, is going to be 2. So it's just a list of statuses. Then instead of wait start just being true or false, we're going to create a global called state and set it to one of our states values, which in this case is going to be wait start. Okay. But now we're using wait start in a bunch of places, and that variable doesn't exist anymore. So if I run it now, things are going to start going wrong. Hey, actually, why does it still work? That's weird. We need to fix it anyway. So here, when we start the game, we set wait start to false. Oh, because we're setting it in reset. That's why. Is it? Where's reset? Here's reset. Yeah, we set wait start to true. So even though we removed the variable at the top, over here, it still exists. So if we rip that out, now wait start is never set, which means now the game just starts running because wait start is null, in other words, false. So during restart, we want to set our state to states.waitStart. Okay. Now in TIC, if we're waiting for the start, so if state is equal to two equal signs, because we're comparing, states.waitStart, then inputs, updates. This else can't be an else anymore. I mean, theoretically it can. It just means that we're going to read the game updates irrelevant of whether we're waiting for start. So this is going to have to be more specific. Updates game runs both when we are, let me think about this, in gameplay loop. So state is equal to states.gameplay, then okay, draw game. Okay, we only need to draw the game not at the start menu. If state is equal to states.gameplay, or if state is equal to states.waitStart. That's the two situations. Let's just make this neat, where we do want to draw the game, and then drop this to the second line just so it's easier to read. Oh, there. Then draw game. Int, because we added a new condition. And then if waitStart, if state is equal to states.waitStart to draw the start. Okay, oh, here's another one. Inputs start. If you press the OK button, then instead of just setting waitStart to false, we need to change the state to states.input gameplay, effectively setting it to 0, but all the game worries about is these two states are now the same. Is there anywhere else that it needs to change? Let's go Control F, where we're looking for the phrase wait start. Okay, that's the state entry. Pressing down, up and down finds next and previous on the find thing. That one's fixed. 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 And that's the bottom of the file. No more. Okay, so what I keep saying, if I did this properly, nothing will change. So that paddle can move. That paddle can move. Pressing X makes the game start. And if someone scores, Control moves to player 2. It shows the correct thing. Okay, we didn't seem to have broken anything. We should be fine. Okay, now we need to draw the menu. So in TIC, so if the state is gameplay, then do updates game. If, okay, here we go. If the state is equal to gameplay or wait start, then we draw the game. Else, if state is equal to states dot, what did we call it? Let me just put a bookmark here quick. Return to the top of the file. Start menu. I discovered you can press Control B or click that button to get a list of all your bookmarks, and there's the bookmark that I just created. Okay. Else if the state is equal to the start menu, then we draw start menu, because wait start, draw start already exists. Okay. Draw start. Let's make a draw menu. Draw menu. Oh, and we don't want to draw start. Maybe in here if... Oh, this is getting complicated. If state is equal to wait start, draw start, that's fine. Draw menu. If this is true, then this will be false, but we can probably make this a bit neater. Okay, so draw menu. Where's all our draw functions? There's draw start. Okay, let's put it below draw start. There's the end of draw start. So function draw menu, and for now we're just going to clear the screen to a random color. Oh right, we need to actually set the status to start menu, otherwise we can't test it. So state, we started in state start menu. Oh, but during boot we run reset, and that executes this. Okay. On boot, after we've reset the game, we then need to set the state to states dot start menu, because boot will only be run once when the game starts. So it'll do the reset, which will set the state to wait start, and then we override that value with the start menu, but only the first time. Run it. Big blue screen. Okay, so we know that it's rendering the menu. Updates game. Where the hell is go to draw menu? We do want to clear the screen, but probably just to black. What do we print? A logo? We can probably hard code this because the text is not going to change, but we do have our nice little print center function. The word Pong. What did we send to print center? Text? Y position? I don't know. When we put this at the top of the screen? And scale. That looks okay. It's a bit small. There we go. Just take over the whole screen, why don't you? Okay, then we need to print our menu. We can probably center everything. Select input. Where do we print this? The logo's at 30. It's 5 high, so it's super big. Arbitrary number, go. And this is normal text, so it's scale 1. You know, we really could... Okay, hold that thought. Print center. We have X offset set as a optional thing. Let's also make scale optional. If scale is equal to null, then scale is equal to 1. Okay, which means we don't need to send scale or. So we don't have to worry about that. It'll be scale 1 unless you indicate a scale. So print center, select input, and the inputs would be keyboard controls and shared controller. Okay, their positions are all the same. At scale 1, the text is 8 pixels tall. This is just something I know. So if we space them 10 apart, so 70, 80, 90. Hey, that looks cool. Keyboard controls, shared controller. Okay. Now we need to show which one is the selected option. So let's draw selection. Need a rectangle. That's only a border, that's not filled. We were using rect to draw our, I don't know where it is now, but rect we used to draw our paddles and the ball and stuff because they're filled in. Rect B only draws a 1 pixel border. Okay, then we give it a left side, top. If that's 80, it'll be 78, so 2 pixels above. Width, height, 8 pixels plus 1 above and 1 below is 10 pixels. And a color, white. I mean, it works. It's a little off center. 65 more. 68. That looks good. And it's 1 pixel there, 1 pixel there. It needed to be a little bit further to the right, so the width needs to be there we go. Nice little block. But now it's not doing anything. So we need the block to move based on which option is selected. So let's create a global. I'm going to bookmark here so I can come back to it. Okay, go to the top of the file. Under our globals, menu item. As good a name as any. And we started at, okay, we're going to use the same menu function that we use for the game menu to also change our keyboard inputs before the game starts. So 0 is keyboard, 1 is controller. So we start this off as 0. Okay. So we draw our rectangle. How do we make it move to the different options? So the Y position needs to change. Now I can add menu item to this, which if the menu item goes up by 1, it'll shift our little rectangle down 1 pixel. But we want it to shift down as much as the text is high, so we're working on 10 pixels, I believe. So now it's selecting the first one. If I go change my menu item to 1. Now the second one is selected. That space at the bottom looks a little weird, but I think that's only because we don't have any characters that are dropping below the baseline. Because if you look at when keyboard controls are selected, because the Y of keyboard goes down, there's a 1 pixel gap there. So in this one, if something had a tail like the Y, it would have occupied that space. So it's just consistent. It looks fine. Okay. Now we need a way of changing the menu options. So we're going to have to create inputs, but for the start menu. So inputs game, inputs start. Oh wait, there we go. Inputs start, inputs game. Let's put it above inputs start. There's the end of tick. Function inputs menu. Okay. What? At this point, we haven't picked what controllers we're dealing with, so we basically have to check everything. So if btnp, this is new. I mentioned it when we first used the button, but button, let's just put 0, I think, help. Button 0 is up. Okay. If we do this, then selecting a menu becomes tricky, because if you accidentally hold the button for more than 1 frame, it'll go up more than 1 option. So what btnp does is it checks for when the button is pressed and only the frame where the button is pressed. It'll fire once, and only if you let go and press again will it fire again. There's also repeat, you know, like in Word or something, where you hold down a button like this and it types a bunch. You can check for that as well. If it's a repeating press, if you hold it down long enough that it starts repeating, nobody's going to hold the button down for that long, and if they do, it'll help them skip up or down a menu fast, so we don't really have to worry about that. If the button we're pressing is up, then now this will work both for the controller and the keyboard, because of that thing I mentioned in the previous video where TIC-80 emulates the controller on the keyboard. So pressing up and down on the keyboard keys, the arrow keys, will also activate up and down on the controller. And pressing up and down on the controller obviously works because we're checking for a button press, not a keyboard input. So up, then let's just end this so we don't forget. Our menu item needs to become menu item -1. Problem is, if it goes below 0, a menu item of -1 doesn't exist. So a handy way of preventing that from happening is there's a math class that has a bunch of functions. One of them is max, math.max. We want to have the higher number of either the menu button we're moving to or 0. In other words, if the value is, I don't know, 5, you press up, it goes to 4. Press up, it goes to 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. If you press up, it'll take the higher number, the maximum, between -1 and 0, which is 0. So this effectively clamps the value at a minimum of 0. Then we also need to check if the button is pressed for what's down? 1. If we're pressing 1, then menu item is equal to math dot. Now we need to do the opposite. Min for menu item +1, or what's the maximum value? Well, we know we have 2 menu options, so 0 and 1. Okay, that should do it, I think. Let me just tab this in properly. Run. Oh, wait. Unexpected symbol new, then line 107, that's here. Else if. Run. It doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Oh, because we're not executing the menu. What's it? Inputs menu. Where do we need to check inputs menu? Is when our in TIC, when our game state is on the menu. Draw menu, here we go. If our game state is the menu, then we need to input menu and then draw start. Run. So up, down, up, spammy up does nothing, down, spammy down does nothing. We can now select, and if I use the controller, works as well. Okay, can't select an option though. Enter does nothing, the face buttons does nothing. But we haven't told the player what face button is the, let's go to input menu. We haven't told the player which face button is the one that just so that we know what that does. We haven't told the player which face button is the one that activates the menu option. So we kind of have to check for all of them. If we look at our controller, all 4 face buttons, A, B, X, and Y, should be checked for. So let's make a local little list of confirm buttons. And we make a list of what, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we check them one by one. For the button that we're pressing starts at, well, we're going to run through this list. So it starts at index 1 because in Lua, if I now go confirm buttons, that'll be the first entry, second entry, third entry, and so on. So we start at 1, then we go for, this is the length of whatever follows. It's a hashtag. I know it doesn't look like it, but that's a hashtag. The length of confirm buttons. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the for loop is done. Do. End the do. All the buttons. If button is being pressed for, now I can't just put B because that'll check 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 is down. So pressing down is going to confirm. We need to check the value in confirm buttons at B. So it'll go to confirm buttons, look at the first value. If that's true, this will be true. Then how do we go to our start screen? Because that's actually where the game starts. We need to set the state to states.wait start. But we also need to, wait, let's check if this works first. Run. Oh, what did I do wrong now? A closing parenthesis near the word then. $115. If, oh, I didn't close the button press function call. Okay, up and down, and then pressing any of the face buttons. Let me just grab my controller. Starts the game. Now, we need to actually set which controller option was selected, and we happen to know that 0, which is the first entry, is also what we pass to our menu function to set the keyboard as the controller. So I can just go menu with menu item. Just call it manually. So run it. If it's keyboard input, it switches to keyboard. Rerun it. If it's shared controller, controller input. Awesome. As for controller buttons, does that work if I'm using the keyboard? So the up and down arrows work, but not enter, because I would need to press Z or X or something because we're looking for buttons. We'll need to press something on the keyboard that TIC-80 expects to be a controller input. So we should probably also check confirm keys. But what keys? Clear the screen, help keys. What buttons are normally confirm buttons on a keyboard? Return, so 50, and space 48. 48 and 50. 48 and 50. And then we essentially do this exact thing, but we do it for the keys. For K is equal to start at index 1, the length of confirm keys. You can put any keys in here you want. Do and all the keys. If key press works the same as button press, the same way that button and key is for our controls, this is button press and key press. And we're looking for confirm keys at value k, then end, and this will be menu, our current menu item, and the state to states dot wait start, and then everything should run as normal. Run it up and down to select the right one. Keyboard controls, Control R to restart, and shared controller support. That's with enter. Same thing with space. Okay, I think that's it for now. In the next one, what can we do on the next one? Are we done? Is the whole game done? Is this everything we need to publish our game? I think so. Now it's just making things nice. Anyway, let me think about this. Let's see what we can do for the next video.